Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to the first Gran Turismo 7 driving tips video in quite a wee while. In this one we're going to take a look at tyre wear. I'm going to ask you, if you're a driver who seems to suffer worse tyre wear than other drivers, are you making this mistake? Now there is lots of different ways to look after your tyres, both in Gran Turismo 7 and I guess any other racing sim game out there, but I think this one particular factor is probably the biggest influence on how bad your tyre wear is compared to other drivers, particularly front tyre wear. And what we're going to look at here does work both on the wheel and the pad, although it's probably easier to manage this and kind of fix this problem if it is a problem on the wheel compared to the pad. However, as I said, the principles will be the same, and if you can if this is a mistake you're making and you can knock it out your driving, then you should have significantly better front tyre wear as a result. So what we're going to look at here is basically this thing. It is the steering wheel, and in particular your steering input in particular phases of the corner. Now we're turning the wheel through a full 180 degrees to either side here. I would say though, when you're driving, excepting possibly hairpins, you shouldn't be turning the wheel any more than 90 degrees, because if you're turning the wheel more than 90 degrees into a corner, then it's probably to do with the fact that you're carrying far too much speed, and then you're trying to overcompensate with the steering input to try and make up for the fact that the car is understeering. So you probably need to start to learn to start taking the car into the corner with the correct speed, and then you'll not need as much steering input, and you'll feel the car start to do the work more than anything else, whereas you're probably, if you're putting in far too much steering input, you're asking far too much of the front tyres, and that's going to lead to far worse tyre wear than a driver who's not asking as much of the front tyres. So I've put together a little bit of an experiment here to kind of try and demonstrate this to you. Now this is me in the Ferrari 458 Italia, Group 4 car, 3-lap race around St. Croix, racing soft tyres, tyre wear is at ×5, and this is just my normal driving style. So look how we come into that left-hander here. We only asked about maybe 70 to 80 degrees of steering lock on the wheel to get the car into that corner. Coming down through the kind of fast sector here down towards the bridge. Now you don't want to be putting too much steering lock in here because the car will you're just trying to balance the car through this section. But as we go onto the bridge here again, look, we've got the car, just the speed nice. We only had to put about 70 to 80 degrees lock into the steering wheel there to get the car through that corner. Coming over the bridge here, we'll take a look at one more corner and then we'll jump on to a run where I'm a little bit more aggressive with the steering input. So 90 degree corner here, big braking zone, get the car slowed down, get the car to the apex, 90 degrees steering lock there. Got the car through that 90 degree left without too many issues. Let's move on to an aggressive run where I'm going to sort of deliberately ask a lot more of the front tyres, be a little bit more aggressive with the turn in through the corner sections, and you'll be able to compare the visual of the wheel in the car compared to the normal run up in the top right hand corner. So good example coming up here. I'm obviously exaggerating things just a little bit, but we've maybe turned the wheel about 150 degrees there compared to probably less than 90 on the normal run. There shouldn't be too much difference coming down through this section here. Again, it's just one of these sections where you don't want to be putting too much input into the wheel. So yeah, a good yank of the wheel there to the left, and we'll come onto the bridge here again. You can just see that it wasn't too much of a difference, but definitely a little bit more steering lock on the aggressive run compared to the normal run. One more corner to look at here, the left hander off the bridge. And let's see how things are compared here. So braking around about 120 metres into this left-hander here, you can see quite visually there quite a difference in the steering lock, and I've got a little bit of a screenshot here just to kind of demonstrate that to you as well. So maybe putting about 40 degrees more steering lock in it there on the aggressive run compared to the normal run. And how is that going to manifest in your tyre wear? Well, you're probably thinking, you can clearly see the difference here. I've put the line across the screen as a reference, particularly in the front tyres. It doesn't look like a massive difference, but you must remember that's only 6 minutes worth of racing. It's not exactly a massive tyre wear multiplier at ×5. 3 laps around St. Croix, but you can quite clearly see the difference in the front tyre wear there. Rear tyre wear is pretty much the same because the technique is not so egregious against the rear tyres. But yeah, that will have a fundamental difference on your pace. Even tyre wear is minimal or as much of a difference as that. I can assure you on soft tyres you will be feeling that difference in the pace. But let me, if that hasn't convinced you, let me sort of show you how, you know, an aggressive driver's inputs can have far greater impact on the tyre wear in a real live situation. So this was a daily race C at the Deep Forest Raceway in the Group 2 cars. It pretty much became a CLK1 make. And when I looked through this replay, we had a friend of the channel in the race, and I was quite surprised, you know, when I compared my lap, or one of my laps compared to one of their laps, the difference in our driving style and how much we were asking of the front tyres, and the difference it made to the tyre wear at the end of the race. So on the left hand side you have myself, Womble Leader. On the right hand side we have a friend of the channel. They'll probably know who they are if they watch the video, but I don't want to name them just in case they didn't want to be known. And things to note as you're watching this, and maybe watch this back a couple of times, maybe in slow motion, but the degrees of input compared to my car and our channel friend's car in certain corners, you'll see they dramatically ask more of the front tyres. Very good example here. You can see not only did we use less degrees of lock to get the car around the corner, but we got the wheel straightened up a lot quicker as well. So basically any time you are on the accelerator, on the power, or basically cornering, you don't actually even need to be in the accelerator, but basically any time the car is going forward and you have got degrees of input in the steering wheel, you are probably going to be causing a little bit of tyre wear. So if you can reduce that, the difference that will have on your tyre wear will be quite dramatic. And I think you'll be quite shocked to see the difference between our tyre wear at the end of this stint. So it was 7 laps in this race, but it was a one-stop race, 7 laps on each stint, or 7 laps on one stint, 8 laps on the other stint. And look at the difference in our front tyre wear just through the driving style there. We were just a lot more gentle. We're a lot less busier on the wheel generally throughout the lap, but definitely using less degrees of steering lock through the corners, just asking less of the front tyres and more of the car, I guess, and the downforce. And also when coming out the corner, definitely getting the wheel straightened up a lot earlier than our channel friend driver as well. And I think you can agree that the difference in the tyre wear is very significant indeed, and also appreciate how that's going to affect your pace. So if you're a driver who seems to suffer worse tyre wear than other drivers around you, then it's very likely that this is probably a mistake that you are making. I see not just sort of lower rated drivers making this mistake, I see A+ drivers making this mistake all the time. Quite often in a sort of FIA race of the past in GT Sport or GTWS in Gran Turismo 7, I'll very often beat drivers who are clearly have more pace than me over one lap, and it's usually down to the tyre wear. When I look back at the replay and I analyse what's happened, I very often see these extremely quick drivers putting way too much steering lock into the car, and as the kind of stint progresses, their tyres wear down significantly more. My tyre wear comes into play a little bit more towards the end of the stint, and yeah, quite often I sort of tend to beat drivers who are quicker than me just through tyre wear alone. So the benefits of getting this problem ironed out, if it happens to be part of your driving, I cannot stress enough. So hopefully I've been able to sort of demonstrate this mistake, or the benefits, or the kind of the ramifications of this mistake if you're making it. I would suggest if you are a driver who suffers from high tyre wear, jump into some replays, see if this is something you are doing. It's never easy to change your driving style, but it's definitely something you can do. But yeah, hopefully the video's been useful in some way, shape or form. If it has, leave a wee comment below, or hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I shall catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching now.